This is the Classic Auto Mall Show. Broadcast from the studios inside the Classic Auto Mall in Morgantown, Pennsylvania, just 1 hour west of Philadelphia at Pennsylvania Turnpike exit 298, featuring nearly 1,000 classic, vintage, and barn-find vehicles for sale under one climate-controlled roof. Now, here's your host, Classic Auto Mall president and the man with all the toys, Stuart Howden.
And welcome to the show, the Classic Auto Mall Show from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. I believe this is show number 166.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes.
And you are our incumbent president. Nice to have you here, Stuart.
You know, I give where I can, you know. So at least we'll stop getting all the text messages and emails.
Yeah, and mailers.
And they can go back to the medical commercials on that.
Yeah.
How about, the weird side effects like, lose your liver or kidney or die to have clear skin.
Exactly.
I am purposely wearing my red Classic Auto Mall shirt today.
Well,
that was a conscious choice.
We won't read anything in between that.
It's the day after election when we're recording.
We're all exhausted, too. We stayed up too late last night.
Right.
It's like these daggum World Series and football games and everything that starts at 9 o'clock so the West Coasters can get home and watch it. But it's, oh, my goodness gracious. So we're done with all that. We're moving forward. We don't have to think about that for 4 more years. So I hope you're happy with the results. If you're not, I'm sorry. I didn't have anything to do with it. So.
Just sit back and enjoy the show.
If you're not happy with it, I think a classic car would cheer you up.
I think that's the cure for all that ails.
Absolutely.
A classic car. Or maybe a renting of a classic car. Oh, what a segue we have.
There we go.
Because we have a special guest today joining us from the other side of the pond, apparently. I didn't realize I was keeping him up so late. Kent Mosbech, the CEO of DriveShare. And if you haven't heard of DriveShare, DriveShare is a classic car, special interest car. Stop me if I'm going the wrong direction, Kent. Rental car company. You can rent a classic car. How cool is that?
Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah. So you started this when? How long has DriveShare been in existence?
So DriveShare in existence as is today was from 2021. It's a kind of a glued together by multiple platforms. We used to be bookerclassic.com and then turned into DriveShare. And we acquired DriveShare of Hagerty in 2023.
Oh, wow. And it's not just in the United States, right? It's
No, 30 countries in the world, 34 if I count correctly. But the majority of our cars is based around in 9 markets. That's the majority of the cars.
Sure.
So we have about 35,000 cars global.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. And it's a little bit of everything, right? It's pickup trucks, it's Mustangs, it's
anything you want to drive.
That's so cool. And of course, it was one of those things I got to imagine when you were coming up with the concept or the idea or the thought process on it. It's like, will people be willing to give their cars up to other people to drive it? And it turns out resoundingly, yes. People are way cool with that. And it offsets the cost.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can tell you that the people all the car owners that have their cars on the platform or their cars on our platform is, passionate car owners that really feel, the ownership and the likeliness of maintaining and running this car, but also the ability to be able to share it with other people. And they share that passion with people that come and, have a little fun drive and a bit of feel of what is it like driving a classic car.
Sure. I mean,
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I'll say gateway drug. Rent
right.
one, buy one.
Yeah. Well, you can say whatever you want, right? Because this is our show and my show, and we have competition on our show with us, so we're okay with that. So the definition of a car that fits your platform. I mean, a 2019 Toyota Camry probably doesn't fit the platform. How do you determine? No. How do you determine what's a classic and special interest? And if it's like us here, it's just because Stuart says so. But that doesn't always work that way.
We call it cars of interest because it varies country by country. Some cars that have an interesting history because it's fitted in a TV show or it stands a significant mark in a certain decade and stuff like that. So depending on which country you're in, certain cars have certain special features and will then become something people would like to try and drive.
Sure.
Of course, we have all the big ones, the Jaguars, the cool stuff that people like, passion, want to own or drive for fun, but think that's out of their reach.
Sure.
But then also we have a lot of American muscle cars where there's some legacy around that. I mean, I think number one reason to one of the bookings in US other than weddings are, I rented this car for my dad because he used to have one when he was young. Yeah.
Great Father's Day
present.
Yeah, Father's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I know that there's supercar rentals where you can go to tracks and rent, Lamborghinis and Ferraris and all that, and then also I guess in Vegas and California and maybe other markets too. I'm sure that you can rent a car, and of course the funny thing is guys that'll rent a Ferrari so they can pull up to a business meeting and hey, look at me, which hey, that's cool. I love that. With do owners how do you know if somebody knows how to drive a manual transmission? Do the owners actually meet with the renters?
Yes. So on the self-drive booking, because we define two different bookings, we have self-drive and then chauffeur-driven. The self-drive bookings we unfortunately only offer in US, but that's because that's where we have the insurance.
Sure.
Self-drive bookings, you meet with the owner at the designated point that you decided on or a pickup point. And the owner would go through the car with you and make sure that you know all how the levers and everything works and stuff like that. And that exchange of information gives it a much more pleasant drive because then you're more comfortable with the car from almost first hour you're in it.
Sure.
And it's clear to me that people they can fairly quickly find out, do you know how to drive a manual transmission? Yes or no. Otherwise, they go a bit, what do you mean manual transmission?
You're
not driving this car.
Not for you. Well, I mean,
no, not for you.
No different than going to an airport and getting in an unfamiliar car and pulling out without taking the time to say, let me just get a little familiar with this car, because I do that all the time. And then I'm running down the highway trying to, I wonder how and not paying. And I should have just taken that extra time to do that.
Yeah.
They
do a bit of there is always an exchange of information. And another thing is also that a lot of the owners will tell a bit about background of the car and why they have it and how much it means for them, because then they know the person that are driving it, they're going to treat it right. And we see very, very few incidents. We've had 3 incidents in a year.
Wow.
It's it's nothing. Someone just scratched the side of a wheel or maybe a little bump on the front because they've had a mounted what do you call these things with a suction cup?
Oh, the GoPro.
Yeah, the GoPro stuff. Yeah. And that can be a little bent if you press it too hard. But It's been so little cracked windscreen. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost impossible to avoid a cracked windscreen if you're running down the highway and a truck drops a rock in front of you. But I think that it's interesting that, and as time goes on, you have more and more cars to choose from, in the 90s and 2000s and all these cars that are coming out that are really cool. And maybe a lot of people won't get a chance. The new Lexus and the new whatever. I can foresee people, wanting to drive those to test maybe if they want to buy one themselves someday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the territory, I can't say that, but the span of the cars we have, you're in a Fiat 500, like 1960s, late age, where you're sitting, you and I would sit shoulder to shoulder and there would be no space. And at the other end of the scale, we have, I think, 7 and 8 Cybertrucks signed up. Because people just want to go, I need to buy that, and they paid for it.
I never thought about that. So that Cybertruck would be an interesting one because people have a love-hate relationship with those, and maybe they realize that they realize that they love it or realize that they hate it. Either one, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
but to have the ability to try it is the big thing. Just any car.
It's like a Cobra. Everybody, an AC Cobra. Everybody wanted one, and then you get one, and you realize maybe this was for me, or maybe it wasn't for me. Maybe it's I'd burned my leg on the side pipe 3 times. There's so many things that are variables with these cars, and until you actually drive them, a test drive is a disservice to a purchase of a car because you run around 2 blocks, you really don't get a feel for everyday life in a car. And to be able to rent one for the day and to kind of experience it in your world or, in real world seems to make a whole lot more sense.
Absolutely. I mean, I've tried a lot of different cars in this life of, traveling and seeing other people cars and knowing people have special cars and stuff like that. A few years back, I was at a wedding in Ireland, and the groom had hired a guy that had a DeLorean. I'm from an age where, Back to the Future was a thing, and you think, oh, okay, I need to try this.
Have to.
You get in it, and it's a weird drive. I mean, that tick the box, and then, yeah, exactly. That's the feeling I had. You could see nothing behind you. It's very difficult. Well, it's really difficult to drive now, I thought, but you tick the box, you're going, okay, I tried that. I'm calm. This is it. This is not for me. But I will probably say I've tried it, so that's enough.
And the bucket list of just checking off the bucket list of cars that you want to say that you've driven in your lifetime. I mean, what a wonderful way to do it. You could do it, on a regular basis. Or, gosh, if you're in Southern California, you want to drive up US 1. I mean, Mustang convertible, how cool is that? Yeah. I mean, I love what you say is that, do you own a car or truck that makes people smile? And you can tell, just go to a gas station with your car. You'll know if you got something that people want to rent or not. If you pull up in a minivan, they're more than likely nobody's going to give you the time of day. But if you pull in something cool and colorful and loud or unique, then all of a sudden you create a conversation with people. And it's pretty amazing how people gravitate to cars or vehicles like that.
Absolutely. I mean, you get a lot of response when you're out driving different cars. We've had some... Like, we had our event with you, and I'm really nice that you really happy that you would host us for meet up with our car owners. And
sure.
we did your location, we did Charlotte, we did Phoenix, we did Monterey, and then Los Angeles in a span of 7 days, I think. 8 days.
Yeah, you got some frequent flyer miles there, didn't you?
I did. That was a longer trip than expected, but to meet with all these owners that came for our event and talking to them and all the stories they could tell about what they've had of bookings. We met with a girl down in Phoenix. She did weddings in little Volkswagen Beetles that she basically refurbished herself, built it up again, bought it from scrap, and then built it back. And
wow.
The stories she could tell about wedding tours is like, okay, you've seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So, sometimes you need a divider window. There's a reason that they have those divider windows. Maybe stuff you don't want to see, right? Well, when you look at people and weddings and how important they are, more and more you see classic cars or classic type cars being used as the getaway car in the wedding or to go to the rehearsal or to the reception or whatever. And it's usually either a big Rolls Royce or a Bentley or something really cool looking. But even more now, I mean, you see pickup trucks and all of that going to weddings. And, listen, if you're a country girl and a country boy from the South, then a pickup truck is a Rolls Royce. So
absolutely. And it's all about that special vehicle that means something for the couple on the day. It's not necessarily a limo.
Sure.
It's an I'm not saying an everyday car, but it's more available than the one, for 1 day experience.
Well, I don't know about you, but trying to get into a limo with a dress is just very difficult. Not that I've ever had to do that, but I haven't
tried that. If you've tried that, that's fine. I don't need to know.
You don't judge me or need to know, right?
No.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll take a little quick break and regroup here. We'll continue with the Classic Auto Mall show in just a minute. See you.
The Classic Auto Mall has more than 1,000 vehicles for consignment in our huge 8-acre climate-controlled showroom. It's a real indoor mall. If you'd like to know all the advantages of buying and selling a car through consignment, the information is available on our website, or you can talk to a classic car specialist who can answer all your questions. It's easy, safe, convenient, and it doesn't matter where you are. We sell worldwide. See our huge selection of classic and collectible vehicles at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall show from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania, with our special guest, Kent Mosbech, from the CEO of DriveShare, who's joining us from Denmark today. So it's amazing that we're talking in real time, and it's like you're next door. It's so cool.
Technology is great, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, think about, a lot of people predicted the demise of air travel and business air travel and people going places anymore because of Zoom, because of COVID and what happened with Zoom and all that. But it really didn't. It allows us to do these kind of things, but there's still the importance of the face-to-face one-on-one, a la proven by you when you came here to have meetings face-to-face with the people that are participating on your platform.
Yeah. I think the technology is great, like a phone call or anything. You can do a quick catch up with anyone, but disability or it will never, finish the time of having people to meet and talk about certain things face to face. There's a different, experience in that. Yeah. And we travel a lot with this business and meet a lot of different people. So there's always it was an experience coming visiting you. I've never seen that many cars under one roof.
Yeah, well,
I have to say,
it's crazy. And then we just keep thinking one day that is it going to stop? We're at what are we at? Almost 1,100 cars now in the building, and it's starting to get a little tight. You have to suck in that belly to get past some of those cars. So, the great thing about it is there's so many different avenues when it comes to classic cars. There's shows, there's events, there's rental like you're doing. What makes DriveShare unique? What's your sweet spot in the world of classic cars?
Well, I think we're a part of the new movement to a younger owner class because, sorry to say, but a lot of the classic cars are owned by people of a certain age. And with all this change in how to drive and electric vehicles and more automated and more standardized cars, there's something lost in the passion of actually driving a car.
Sure. And
we offer them this opportunity to kind of be able to try a bit of things on and have an experience and find out is this for me before you go out and make the decision to buy something. And then there's always a transition of know-how between the existing car owner and the next generation.
Sure.
We can see there's a lot of, late 30s or mid 30s that are coming in now to the classic car market and starting to buy up cars both in Europe and US.
We're seeing it here. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. You will see the same growth in that peak area. And I think it's also that people are getting a bit, everyone can have that standard truck or Tesla or whatever. I need something that stands out that I can drive in the weekend that makes a bit of sound. It's boring to drive an electric car.
Yeah.
It
is. There's nothing exciting about it. It's great that we have them, and it's great that they do their thing and whatever it is. But you can't ever say that they're fun. Although a Tesla Plaid's probably, I guess, fun.
Yeah.
That's an outlier.
But speed is not everything in the car.
Correct.
I have to say. There's so much thing in how it sits on the road and how it feels, and you can hear the sound, how it responds to you, the gear shift, everything. There's just such an experience in the actual drive of the car rather than just an electric vehicle or engine that just go beep and then you're going off the road.
I once bought a Land Rover just because of the exhaust sound. It was just so cool sound. It was a supercharged V8 Range Rover Land Rover, and it was like, my wife goes, "You're going to buy this car just because of the exhaust sound, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And if you hadn't have driven that or been able to experience that through a platform like yours, and you may never, you may have known it, you may not have known it. That it really just it just hit me when I heard it. It was like, oh, that's me. I have to have that.
Yeah. There's always something that triggers you when you look at a car or see or drive a car.
Well, and how cool is it for your clients who rent cars to people that they're in a music video or in a movie and say, "There's my car."
Yeah,
that's awesome.
There's some proud moments. Yeah, there's a lot of these car owners. They have it's their pride and joy already, and then if it's featured in a car or in a movie or something, you also. Well, the claim is that it raises a bit of value if it gets the really big numbers and views. So that's of course interesting. But I think the most, one of the points I always make to the car owners that some are using our platform is that their ability to offset a bit of the expenses that follows with having a classic car, because there is some storage, there's some maintenance, there's some, and it needs to be driven. Otherwise, you don't stick them in the garage and sit 20 years, then you're not driving it and you're not enjoying it.
No,
it's the use of the car. Yeah. That's the interesting thing.
It's so important for a car to be driven, and more deterioration will happen to a car sitting than driving on a regular basis. We see that all the time, and it's certainly, interesting that, like you said, with people like in the movies and the music videos, we get called. I mean, there's so much content out there that needs to be filled with cars of certain eras and certain times. We get calls, probably, I don't know, 10 calls, a week of people asking about renting a car for a movie or using a car. So now we have an outlet to send them to. We'll send them to you, and you just send the check to Stuart Howden. That's Stuart with a Stewart.
It's made a note of that door.
But we get the calls all the time because, these movie companies, they can't go out and own all these cars. No. It doesn't make financial sense for them. So for them to spend, I don't know, I'm just throwing numbers out, $1,000 a day or $500 or whatever the number is negligible to them. And it makes a lot of sense for them to do that. And listen, there's a lot of things you can do or you can own, but you don't always have to.
Absolutely. I mean, the ability to build this community of car owners globally, and basically make this the center of their connection point. Target would be over time, and we're still far away, but 1 million cars on the platform globally would be the target.
Wow.
Which means we would be the largest car platform out there.
Sure, absolutely.
Non-second.
Yeah, absolutely. Does the electric vehicle change the algorithm or the business model for you? I mean, is there limitations to the electrics? Are electric cars on your platform? I'm certain they are.
Yeah. We have several. We have different Teslas and we have some.
And the Cybertruck, of course, you had mentioned.
Yeah. I was just thinking about the other Lucid. No, what's it called?
Fiskars. You got some of those, and
we actually have a Fisker. Yeah, we have two of them actually.
Really?
Also the old one.
Oh yeah.
So for the Karma Fisker one.
Right.
So no, there is a few electric ones, and these are for the people that really would like to try and drive something that maybe stands out, like a Plaid or whatever. The super fast stuff.
Yeah. But it'd be interesting to see if you could survey the people that were testing cars out in thoughts of purchasing them. If they went ahead and if they changed their mind for the good or the better, for better or worse, and if they actually went out and bought the vehicle afterwards, and then you could call Elon and say, "You owe me money too, because I'm selling cars for you."
That would be really nice.
See, I'm a plethora of ideas here, Kent.
Yeah. But the try before you try before you buy model of using our opportunity to get insurance and rent a car for a few days, because you might have a vision in your head going that this is the car, I want this car. Maybe you should go and maybe drive 2 or 3 of them and then go and find one you want to buy from the same era or year or style or model. When I was with you, I had to jump into that little Lotus leash you had up in the center area.
Yeah.
And I realized this is a great car. I need to buy one of these one day. And I spent 2-3 minutes getting in it and then 10 minutes getting out of it. So maybe not.
Maybe that's not quite the car, not quite the right fit, if you will.
No, that's correct.
Yeah. Well, I think that I rent cars from, in the normal avenues of renting a car. And I'm mad if I say, I want a Chevy Suburban, and then they give me a Ford Expedition. I'm like, no, I wanted the Suburban specifically for a reason. I wanted to see if I liked it. And we found out a car that just wouldn't fit in our garage one time. We get that all the time. People call us up and say, well, that car fit in my garage. What's the length of the car? What's the width of the car? What's the height of the truck? Because it may not fit in their garage. And that's something that you sure hate to find out after you'd already bought the car. And then you go home and realize, whoops.
Now I need to build a garage.
Yeah, exactly. The
wife will take that advice. So.
Yeah, she's already. Well, I tell my wife. I hope you're like me. I tell my wife every car I buy, we're going to make a huge profit on.
Yeah. Right. This is also, I buy the car, I put it on the platform, I offset the cost. So in technical terms, the car is free, and it just goes up in value over time.
Well, most rental car companies in the old business model of rental car companies made more money off selling the cars after they depreciated them than they had actually made from renting the car. So is your business model more like one of the major rental car companies, or is it more like Turo, which is just renting, people's regular cars?
Well, we are actually business model in technical term, as Toro does, is like peer-to-peer, a decentralized fleet.
Right.
We're in hyphens the same.
Sure.
But we are absolutely not the same in the reason why people booking.
Right.
We have nothing to do with mobility. All our bookings is just raw experience.
Wow.
No one ever rents a classic car because, I need to drive from this city to that city.
Sure.
No,
sure.
I rent it because of an experience. I want to drive the car. I want to have a road trip experience. So we fit in as colleagues in the same business.
Sure.
But if you position us in the terms of what are we as a platform, we are much more in the experience economy and more towards Airbnb than we are in the rental type of mobility world.
That makes sense. And of course, you have, I guess I would assume that you have clients that actually have made a business out of this. I mean, they've got multiple cars, 8, 10, 15, 20 cars, and a fleet of them, and they're going around and doing their thing. And that's that's an interesting business model.
Yeah, I mean, if you do this right and you get the right price point, I mean, you don't need to go and buy the $200,000 thing. You could buy something in the $40,000, $50,000 and put that on the road. That's something someone feels this is an interesting drive. And if you can sit and do 25, 30 bookings a year, that car's paid for within a few years.
Yeah, absolutely. And in theory, going up in value versus most late model cars going down in value.
Yes.
So is there an average price that people pay, to book a car with? I mean, I know that everything's different. I mean, you got a $10,000 El Camino is probably not the same rental rate as a $100,000 Corvette, obviously.
Average booking, and this is globally, so the European side is going to bring the number down a bit, but the global booking value on a one booking transaction is around $600.
Oh, right. And that's not bad for a day's worth of driving a cool car. I mean,
no, that's actually based on hourly rates also. Right. That's the interesting bit. So if we do that on the daily rate, the average booking would technically be higher. But,
sure.
But it's a good business for both the car owner and for us.
Absolutely.
Because we provide a service for them to be able to rent out their car. And
And
there's experience from both sides.
Yeah, so the hourly bookings is interesting. I mean, is that more Citibank type where you get a bicycle from the rack and you put your credit card in and away you go and you drop it off wherever?
The hourly booking are mainly in regards to weddings and like experiences like the Father's Day or whatever, or Jubilee or something, and someone just needs the car, or for a corporate event. Where basically the car owner brings it there and they do what they need to do with it, take it for a little drive, and then they come back with it again. The self-drive bookings, that's where the daily booking rate kicks in. That's where you have it for one or more days.
Right.
People renting it for a road trip experience, basically.
And you can also have chauffeur driven, which do most of your clients, do they dress up in the hat and the whole thing for the chauffeur experience?
We have a few people that show up in suit and tie and everything. We had a guy come to Charlotte and talk to us about his experience with booking out for weddings, and he says that it's always fun. You bring the couple to the wedding and you pull in with this car, and the minute the couple has gone away from the car, all the guys, they come over and they stand there and kick tires and they have a little talk about the car. And,
More interested in the car than the wedding. So when we return, we'll continue our conversation with Kent Mosbech, the CEO of DriveShare, coming to us from Denmark. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
Whether you want to buy or sell a classic, collectible, or special interest vehicle, you need to visit the Classic Auto Mall website for more information. If you're looking to buy, you can easily search our inventory of more than 1,000 vehicles on the web at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall show from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania, talking to our friend Kent Mosbech, the CEO of DriveShare, a classic car special interest rental. That's the rental car company. We need to come up with a new term from that. There's got to be something even cooler than just rental car, right?
Yeah, the peer-to-peer model it sounds a bit dull, but that's what it is. It's basically, decentralized fleet is the term.
Sure. So obviously you're doing business in different countries, as you said, 30-something countries all over the world. I mean, the rules and regulations are different in every country, right? I mean, you've got to really do your due diligence to know what to do and what not to do in these different environments.
Absolutely. I mean, US, being from Denmark originally, it was a bit of a challenge to find out, understanding all the insurance regulatories or rules and everything. But getting that insurance in place for the self-drive bit, that was fairly, well, not easy, but there was a learning curve in that. And then the chauffeur drive side of things, what we basically do is just we're the mediator. We connect the car owner with someone that wants to drive it,
right.
and then it's on their, the chauffeur driven. That's not on our insurance. And we mainly do self-drive in US. There's a few places in the world we do self-drive. There's also a few places in the world where we're going to soon to be next year offer a road trip experience, journeys.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So a package tour, 4 or 5 days, hotel, classic cars, a lead car, a driver, a guide, and you basically 2 people in a room, 2 people in a car, and you go between hotels.
Oh, that's almost like the Colorado Grand or some of these tours that people do already.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because a lot of people would love to participate in some of these events, but they don't have the right car or they don't have the right, and they don't necessarily want to own one until they try it. Maybe after the first time they might say, oh, yeah, that's something I want to do again and again and again. Now, I can't imagine you rent out a 1904 Cadillac to run London to Brighton, but,
No. There's also certain cars that work on certain roads.
Sure.
And there's certain cars that really don't work on certain roads. So then you get in trouble. So.
Right. Excuse me, I have a cough button. I keep forgetting to use it. So what's the biggest challenge in the business? Is it just finding people to rent their cars, or is it finding clients to rent them? I mean, is there, or both of them happening pretty simultaneously?
I think we've come to a point where we've hit what I would call critical mass, and things just keep growing and growing. We get people registering cars passively every day. We decided back in 21 that this was sort of when COVID happened, we kind of canceled our Google spend.
Right.
Because we thought there was no reason to do a lot of advertising if everyone was staying at home. And it turned out that people just got more interested. We kept getting more and more cars registered and getting more and more bookings. So it kept growing and growing. The thing is that this is a trust element, that you feel that you trust the platform. We've definitely, confirmed that there is both a market from the car owner and the car renter. And then you have to see the vision of monetizing your vehicle a bit. Right. And be open to let other people either drive it or drive other people in it. It's self-propelling. I don't know if that's the right word, but it keeps growing. And we're seeing a huge uptake in especially US right now on cars being registered.
And you're seeing referrals, like one guy tells his buddy that, hey, you ought to get involved in this, or you ought to rent a car for your wedding through this platform. And that's
also doing a referral program, actually. So we have like an ambassador program where people can, ask their buddies to sign up, and then they get a little, financial benefit out of the booking. So and that's been really strong, because one thing that's absolutely sure: if someone owns a classic car, he knows 10 other people that owns a classic car.
Oh yeah, and then they talk like crazy. I mean, that's the beauty of it. And I think that once you get you've had a positive experience, you rented your car to a guy, it came back all in one piece, and everything was cool. Then you tell your neighbor, hey, I just covered my insurance for the year with a 1-day rental or a 2-day rental or whatever it is. Do you get extended rentals as well too? Do people rent cars for a week at a time, or?
With the self-drive booking in US, we've definitely had bookings that 5-7 days are normally the long I would say the longest road trips we've had of bookings. Normally it's like a long weekend, so 3 days, 4 days. There's also some distance that you don't want to drive in a classic car. It's more like a scenic route. I mean, you can do LA up to Monterey in a day and have a few stops on the way, and that's an easy drive.
Sure.
A lot of curves. You need to know what you're doing and don't go too fast.
Sure.
But
do you work with, like, if somebody were to have a flat tire on the road or something like that? Do you have AAA involved? Do you have some kind of outlet for people to be able to call and get going again?
Yeah, there's a roadside assistance service. So you can contact us during the booking, and then we'll connect you with the counter. And they would normally organize either a pickup or a service at the spot.
Sure. Yeah, I would imagine that, things happen from time to time, in any vehicle, right?
Oh, yeah. The more you drive, the more you experience. That's it.
Yeah, right. I remember when I was out in Los Angeles back in the early 2000s, they were just getting into renting kind of exotic cars and things like that. Beverly Hills Budget Rent-A-Car had these wonderful cars that you could rent. I remember one time I rented a Lexus SC 430, which, I had never gotten to drive, and I love driving. I'm surprised I never bought one, but it was so cool because, that's experience that you get. Not only do you experience the drivability of a car when you're driving it for more than just a test drive around the block, you're experiencing the reactions of people driving past you and giving you the thumbs up and honking the horn, or as we said earlier, coming up to you at the gas station. You feel pretty good,
There's always a good response when you're in a special car. That's the experience you get when you pull in. I mean, I've been through Germany and through UK in classic cars, and you always get a little thumbs up or wow, I like your car and stuff like that. So it's a win-win.
Yeah,
I mean, you get the experience. Other people see something out of the ordinary.
Sure.
So.
And do you see what's the future? I mean, what's next for DriveShare?
We are growing fast. We want more cars on the platform because we want to share that with more people who want to rent it. Actually, the more inventory we get, the more bookings we get. It's like follows along just as we grow.
Sure.
I mean, one of the things that's always been around this, will classic cars as we know it, will that end? And my view and perspective of that is that it won't, because I mean, I keep using this as a kind of a point or a story. I mean, when Mercedes registered the patent for a car in 1923, no one went out and killed all the horses, and everyone that that's the sport today. You have a horse because you enjoy it, or you go racing with it, whatever. And I think cars will basically become the same thing. There will be a very day-to-day, boring, every type, electric or something else, propelled vehicle that people use. And then you have all the special stuff.
Which is kind of the way it is now for all intents and purposes. I mean, most SUVs are just put a different badge on them. It's the same vehicle, right? All the the engineers went to the same school and learned the same thing. Do you ever see a future where you would own inventory, where you would buy select type of cars and put them in different markets?
There is a vision further down the line that we would entertain a fractional owning concept. Creating a social garage where you would rent a space, you would buy a fleet of cars, you would then fractionalize the ownership under one insurance. And then there's one or two guys that have the responsibility to maintain the fleet.
Sure.
And you would use it by the day, by the hour. But we would then service both the platform, the insurance, everything through one platform communication.
That sounds great. I mean, not cheap to do, obviously. It would be expensive to do something like that. But, boy, that might be that fractional jet ownership. You see fractional, timeshare in vacation homes, all that. It certainly makes sense. And especially with the cost, getting sort of out of reach for some people. Some of these cars, $150,000 car is not that expensive anymore. When you see...
No.
You see,
a fractionalized model would give a lot more people the opportunity to actually have an ownership of something, and also it's not a bad investment for some certain cars.
Exactly. Yeah. If if you'd bought a Ferrari Enzo on the fractional ownership,
yes,
you'd be real happy with the results. Or a LaFerrari like Sammy Hagar just sold for $5.7 million or whatever. I mean, certainly, there's that makes a lot of sense, and I hadn't even thought of that aspect of it. And I think that when you have a business model that's working well, the fear is that you don't want to change too much because you don't want it to drastically change the business completely. But you got to keep growing and changing with the times, right?
Yeah, that and overcome or whatever it's called. I mean, the other side of the future of classic cars could potentially be conversions. EV conversions of classics. Is several companies out there doing it. I mean, we're in dialogue with a few of them, and I could see there's certain people that would like the look and the aesthetics of the car, but don't want the all the challenges with the mechanical side that sometimes is. Challenges. It's the way of operating a classic car.
Sure.
But maybe electric conversions and, have a electric Jaguar E-Type, great experience. We actually have a electric Mini from the 1981 or 82.
Oh, wow.
Sitting in our fleet in London.
Right.
Where we have a small fleet of cars.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we see a guy who's doing some Mustangs around here. I haven't heard much more about that, but they were doing some Mustangs. And like you said, I mean, that's, the nostalgia side of it is the fact that, the Camaro and the Dodge Challenger and the Corvettes all kind of have this retro look about them, and the Mustangs, because they want to embrace that. But like you said, not everybody can tinker with a car. Not everybody wants to tinker with a car. Some people want to just get, point, and go. And some people like the tinkering part. I mean, the guys that I grew up with, and when I grew up in the 70s, that we wanted to tinker with our car. We wanted to understand how it all worked and the intricacies. I don't think today's kids care quite that much about it. And we don't want to run them away from the hobby just because they don't want to get their hands dirty, changing their oil, filter.
No, but there's also something in it on maintaining a car and understanding how it runs and works. Mm-hmm. Totally agree on that. I mean, there's huge opportunity, or there's a community element around that.
Sure.
But there will be over time an electric fleet of old classics that would be out there for the people that want less maintenance and just the kind of look and aesthetics of it.
Sure. So the last question that I always ask, and the most important one is, and the more mundane the answer, the better. What's your daily driver? I love this.
Oh, okay. I hope you wouldn't ask that. That's okay.
All right. We'll edit that out. I promise we won't ever tell anyone. No.
That's fine. I have to admit that I am actually daily driver. I have cars in UK and in Denmark, and in Denmark it is a Tesla.
Yeah,
to be quite honest.
And from a practical standpoint, that's a lot of people are going that route because it makes sense. They don't go long distances. They're not going on a road trip. They're not using the car to go from the East Coast to the West Coast or from the North to South. It makes sense. And it's funny how many people that we talk to give that same answer. Now, they love the cars, they love big American V8s, and they love all the other parts and Ferraris and all that, but the practicality of it sometimes kicks in. And listen, just because your blender is GE doesn't mean you can't make a kick-ass daiquiri in it, right?
No, exactly.
So
I mean, the other side has I've had a Mini in UK, and then for the fun drive, I have a Porsche 911 sitting here in Denmark.
Nice. I love the 911s. They're probably my favorite overall car, and probably the most fun car to drive that you will ever experience. And those of you who go on the platform to DriveShare, it's driveshare.com, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
yes.
Go on the platform. I'm sure there's some 911s for you to rent there. You'll have an experience like second to none. Kent, it was awesome to have you on the show today, and so great to meet you a few months ago when you were here. And certainly, please come back and visit anytime you're in the States, and we'd love to host another event for you as well too.
Excellent. Appreciate having me, and I'll come by and meet you again soon at your warehouse.
Sounds great. Kent Mosbech, the CEO of DriveShare, joining us on the Classic Auto Mall Show. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Buying and selling via consignment is safe, easy, and secure. We advertise, sell, and ship worldwide. And if you'd like to know all the advantages of selling your car through consignment, the information's available on our website, or you can talk to a classic car specialist who can answer all your questions. Plus, you can easily search our inventory online at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall Show from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. My Tennessee Vols are 7-1.
Well, congratulations.
They played dark mode the other night and at Neyland Stadium, and they had the black uniforms with the orange numbers, and they had the lights dimmed, and the marching band had orange and orange fireworks, and we won.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
well, colors make a difference. Look at Kelly Green and the Eagles.
That's right.
Barely.
How about Saquon Barkley though? That guy's amazing, unbelievable.
How about that catch?
Man.
How about the
jump?
Yeah, the jump, the backwards jump was just unbelievable. And then, of course, how about our Kansas City R, meaning me and Kathy's, not your all's.
Sure.
You do have red on today.
Chiefs.
For the Chiefs, and they are 8-0 or 7-0?
8-0 now.
8-0.
7-2. Let's go Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo 7-2. Yeah, amazing. So
good.
Great guest. If you're looking to rent a car, and that's the place to go. DriveShare. They've got thousands of cars just in the U.S. alone, and it seems like a model that just keeps growing and growing and growing. And I love the opportunity. That's a great thing to mention to some of our clients, if something that makes sense for them, especially somebody who buys a $20,000-$30,000 car, kind of entry level, if you will, into the hobby. And what a great way to cover some of your costs, even if you just did a couple of rentals a month.
That's right. And I had a friend who rented his 68 Charger to a music video, and he was with the car the whole time.
Right.
So I mean, he made a decent money.
Yeah,
bit of money.
$1,000 a day or something.
Like
some
that.
of those are like that, plus expenses maybe.
Right,
and
pretty cool.
Because it's way cheaper for the rental. I mean, for the movie production company to rent a car, they're not going to go buy it.
That's true.
I mean, we actually have clients who buy cars that rent them out to the movies, but they'll buy a lot of generic type cars, some Model A's and Model T's for period correct stuff, and Model BB Ford trucks and Mustangs, and just some kind of generic, nothing very expensive and nothing very unique, just something filler for the background, because you can't do a movie from the 1960s and show anything but 1950s or 60s or older cars.
That's right.
So
yeah.
So I gave away how many we got now? How many?
Close to 1,100.
That's 1,061.
1,061?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's not that close.
Pretty good.
I mean, if it was electoral votes, then so. We 1,061. And where did we sell cars to last week?
Where?
Did you ask? How about Haverford? Is that right?
Haverford.
Oh, Haverford, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. You guys.
Main line.
We're just keeping the listeners happy. If anybody lives there, they want it said right.
That's all right.
Just have the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
That's right.
That's right.
Crowley, Texas. Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. Lincoln, Nebraska. Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. Chaddsford, Pennsylvania. Columbus, North Carolina. Lake Milton, Ohio. Wilmington, Delaware. Molino, Florida. Mansfield, Ohio. Mountville, Pennsylvania. Raynham, Massachusetts. Georgetown, Texas. Fishers, Indiana. North Lima, Ohio. Wilmington, Delaware. Paradise Valley, Arizona. Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. Petersburg, Pennsylvania. Delaware City, Delaware. Duh. Locust Grove, Georgia, Marlton, New Jersey, and Portland, Connecticut. We had a busy week.
That's great.
Yeah, one of our busier weeks that we've had in a while.
Buy cars.
Excellent.
See you later.
New homes.
See you next time. And so some of the new arrivals. How about the 1941 Ford Super Deluxe Woody station wagon? Tucson tan and mahogany and birch over brown. So it had mahogany and birch wood on it. That's so cool. Ooh. Well,
nice.
Yeah, that was a great one. That was the best one he's done.
We love that one.
We love that one, and that was great timing and excellent. So way to go. You get a raise.
Thanks.
But mahogany and birch is interesting, the two different wood types that they use, because of I'm guessing because of maybe the strength or because of the color.
Yeah, probably.
More aesthetic than...
Yeah, a little both.
Well, you know that all the roofs on the Model A's and the Model T's were wooden back in the day.
That's right.
Because they didn't have enough steel.
Right. Well, it turns out this was a happy accident with Woodies, because they were built, I learned through doing the descriptions, that they were built as a way to save money, as an economy thing. It wasn't for style. It was just cheaper than steel.
Really? And it turned out to be very stylish.
Yeah.
I mean,
way
stylish.
Right. And now they're like sought after.
Yeah. I mean, what a cool way to go pull up to the lake with your kids and a picnic basket in the back and your 1941 Ford Super Deluxe Woody station wagon. 3-speed manual with a Columbia overdrive, so it's drivable. And what I mean by that is that it will be going down the highway, and that overdrive just helps it get a little more legs, because there's nothing worse than driving something that needs another gear.
For sure.
Yeah, you're in a 4-speed something, and you need that 5th gear. And for those of you who can't see, I'm doing the thrusting into the 5th gear motion on the
1, 2, 3,
H
4,
pattern.
5. Yeah, right.
Or it's the dog leg if it's a Porsche 928. So 1 is down to the left, and then up is 2nd.
Oh.
3rd, 4th.
I'll never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll
what was it?
Never experience.
The millennial theft guard.
It's a manual transmission with the instructions in cursive.
Yes.
How perfect. So a beautiful, beautiful Woody station wagon, LeBaron Bonney interior. It's got all kinds of decals and signatures on it. It's a show winner. Wonderful new arrival. How about the 1959 Ford Galaxie Skyliner? Retractable hardtop.
Which is commonplace now.
They're commonplace now, but boy, I mean, if you think back in 1959,
right,
and you saw that, I don't think I ever saw one when I was a kid growing up.
No.
That trunk lid lifted up and that whole top picked up and moved in there, and then there was a little, like a box, if you will, in there that had the luggage, and it was custom luggage that fit perfectly in there.
I had somebody tell me about that. There's all these servos. It's not even the newer ones. I've got a hardtop convertible, and it's computerized. These were all servos and manual clicking switches and stuff, and they were a nightmare.
And when they went wrong,
good luck.
Yeah, you were like, I think my car just accidentally ran off a cliff. Whoopsie daisy.
Yeah.
This thing, torch red and colonial white over red and raven black. The retractable roof, I love it when somebody, when the retractable roofs first came out, and people were like, hey, look at this fancy thing. And go, well, let me show you 1959, Pally.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they had you beat from a long time ago. It's like the slide outs on a Prevost bus. Go look at our 1923 Chevrolet Weedman camper. It had a slide out from 1923. So, duh.
Kind of a slide out. But electric cars were 1902, right? Studebaker built the first electric car in 1902.
The Baker, the Roush, there was a bunch of electric cars.
How about that?
And they made sense. And they were, of course, the charging stations looked very complex back then. So.
Yeah.
And this one, the Ford Galaxie Skyliner, has the Ford-O-Matic automatic.
Of course it does.
And it's heavily optioned.
And what was the soft top called?
I don't know.
The Sunliner.
The Sunliner.
Right.
Oh, you're right.
You're right.
Very good.
A lot of liners.
I don't know it all, but there are. I like to let you know the things I do know. I got Zach Brown wrong, so
It's all right. We're not holding that against you still.
Yes, you are.
I know I am. How about the 2006 Maserati Grand Sport Coupe? Grigio Palladio over black, 15,000 actual miles, recent service, 4.2 liter, 396 horsepower, double overhead cam V8. Man, this car will go.
Yeah.
They are so cool.
And sound good.
And sound great and overlooked. People walk right past that car. Then I go, did you notice that? And they go, oh. And then when they stop and take it all in, they're blown away.
It's a good looking car, and only 2,613 of them were produced between 2004 and 2007.
Look at you. Contributing to the show.
Mr. Stat.
Little factoid there.
See, you should be, now I'm gonna rely heavily on you to know what the batting average of Mookie Wilson was back. Yeah.
Stat of the day.
So this is a great car. It's a supercar styling without the supercar price. I mean, it's a very reasonably priced car for what you get, almost 400 horsepower. And you say, oh, that's not a lot. That is a lot.
A ton.
It's a ton of horsepower. Go drive that thing and tell me it's not enough horsepower, and I dare you to knock this battery off my shoulder. How about the 1928 Ford Model A Roadster pickup? This thing is stunning. This thing is just maroon and black over black, comprehensive restoration, converted to 12 volts, which makes it start a little bit easier. And sometimes those 6 volts are a little twicky. Aluminum intake with a 2-barrel carb.
That's
Isn't that funny? A 2-barrel carb was like, whoa.
It's a big deal in 28.
Yeah. When most of them were 1-barrel downdrafts. So they were upside down. So the fuel just leaked out.
Yep. Yeah. They were on the side of the engine, right?
How do it know how to get the fuel up when it's pointing? It's like
magic.
It's like the thermos. How does it know if you put coffee in the morning or iced tea in the morning? It's either one's hot or one's cold, and I don't understand how it knows the difference.
Martians.
I think it could be. Or marshmallows.
Yeah.
What a wonderful, wonderful Roadster pickup. How about the 1969 Jaguar XKE Series 2 Roadster, indigo blue over red. Oh, man, that's a mic drop car.
It's a nice one.
That blue is it's just spectacular. It's just the best color for that car. And the red interior just really sets it off. It's got 45,000 actual miles. A near perfect restoration. Few little flaws here and there, but nothing to speak of. It's got the 4.2 liter double overhead cam, inline 6, 3 SU carbs. It's got the Series 1 headlight conversion, which I love as the covered headlights.
Right.
So cool.
Better, much better.
It completes the look.
It really does.
Some things look better with things added on, and some things don't look better. But this actually looks much better.
A little factoid about this one: Frank Sinatra owned one. as well as some other celebrities. It was a big celebrity car.
Yeah,
created a
back
monster.
in the day.
I've created a monster here.
Yes.
He's going to factoid me to death. But you know what? That's interesting, and that's what people want to know, and people like to know these little factoids. Right. And I'm going to try to beat you to the punch, though.
All right.
How about last but not least?
Yes.
Yeah, the 1975 Chevrolet Corvette convertible.
Mm-hmm.
This is a car that we've seen so many of them for the years, and I say this all the time, and you walk right past them, and you just don't think much about them. But when you stop and look in this car in this medium saddle interior,
beautiful,
with the medium saddle metallic exterior and the medium saddle interior, and it's got side pipes, and and the hard top, it's just a cool looking car. Yep. That brown, something about it, and the paint it's like kilometers deep. Oh no, sorry.
You're in Denmark. You're in Denmark.
Denmark thing.
Yeah.
Miles deep, numbers matching 350, L48, which is the 180-ish horsepower versus the 210.
Right.
Borg Warner T10 manual, hard top and the soft top.
Yes.
Richly appointed interior, and it's got an Edelbrock intake and carb, and it's the last year for a while. Was that yours?
That was it. I wrote that down.
Last year for a while for the convertible.
For a convertible. Last Corvette convertible till 1986.
Exactly. Very
and
good.
brown, not a great color on most cars, but if you get the right shade of brown and the right car.
Yeah, I had a Mercedes S-Class sedan that was brown, and it with tan interior. Mm-hmm. It was really stunning. And it's funny, when I bought it, the Mercedes dealer said, we don't like cars that aren't black, white, or silver.
Uh-huh.
Because it's just too hard to sell, and people get, I don't know, I like the brown, but when you have black, white, or silver, it's usually that's only one choice for somebody in a car world that would pick one of those colors. So you don't get, well, maybe if I like the brown, but you know, the fuchsia's kind of cute too, and it's one of those colors that they don't. But it looks stunning on this car, and it looks stunning on this.
Yes,
car.
It does.
Yeah, a few years ago, Toyota had one called Burnt Walnut, and it was the same idea. Man, it was sharp.
Burnt walnut, doesn't that sound delicious?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some burnt walnut there, Martha. So, and I think it was the last manual transmission Corvette for a while, if maybe not forever.
Not forever. No.
Not forever. Nothing's forever.
Nope.
As my dad told me on my first wedding.
Did he?
He literally put his arm around me and he goes, "Don't worry, son, it ain't forever."
Oh.
I'm like, what? Thanks, Dad.
I set the tone for the rest of the
Like,
next couple of years.
Honey, I'll be divorcing you at some point in time. We're not quite sure when, but it will be
forever.
sometime. It ain't forever, babe. So I'm sorry I moved you all the way here from California. Yeah. And yes, they do have a McDonald's in Knoxville. Is the International Scout back, or is it a version of somebody? Somebody's making
it's
a
back.
Scout. But it's like Volkswagen's making it.
Volkswagen's making it.
They bought the name, I guess.
I think that's very cool. I saw, and I guess they're all electric.
I think they're all electric at this point.
At this juncture.
That's right.
But really cool looking.
Yeah.
You know, that's the conundrum of these electric cars is some of them, like the new Silverado, which I have yet to see. Mm-hmm. The one that they announced maybe a year and a half or so ago really looked good. It was a good looking truck. And I was kind of like, oh, damn, I like the way that thing looks.
You can see one at the auto show next month.
Well, there you go.
Sure.
They got the Philly Auto Show.
If Chevy's there.
If Chevy. Well, they
were last year.
Chevy will be there.
January the 11th through the 20th. If you're looking for other events, coming up the first day that this airs, which is Friday the 8th of November 2024.
Wow.
Is the Greensboro Auto Auction in Greensboro, North Carolina. My buddy Johnny Ransom puts on, and Mr. Green, David Green, owns the dealer auction there, and also they have almost 300,000, or maybe they do have over 300,000 square foot worth of classic car auction space.
Wow!
That they're built on buildings and added on. They have about 750 cars.
We have that. We have that. It's just filled with cars.
Yeah. Well, theirs is filled with 750 cars.
Wow.
Ours is 1050 to 1150.
There you go.
Ish. I'm losing my voice at the perfect time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a show just about over. So anyway, what else do we have to say?
That's it. I mean,
that's it. We've covered all our
great show. Another great show. Another great guest.
And next week is legendary announcer and TV personality Bob Varsha is going to be on the show.
He's great.
And I just got word, I hope I'm not letting the cat out of the bag, that Linda Vaughn is going to be on and maybe around the 1st of December. So we're excited about that. We saw an interesting documentary the other day with her in it talking about Janet Guthrie, who I would love to have on the show. She was fascinating. I didn't know a whole lot about Janet Guthrie, but she is really interesting and was a pretty darn good driver. Back in the day, ran IndyCar and qualified and did all that stuff. So maybe one of these days our friend Judy Stropus can get Janet Guthrie on the show for us.
Be great. Yeah.
And so we'll catch you next time on the Classic Auto Mall Show. See you then.
You've been listening to the Classic Auto Mall Show with your host, Stuart Howden. Executive producer, Steve Safier. Produced and engineered by yours truly, J.R. Russ.
Available on ClassicAutomall.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Music courtesy of the Pat Travers Band. For tour dates, contact, and stuff, visit PatTravers.com. Produced by Car Smarts Media. Copyright all rights reserved.